Alright, so this is flight standardization. So we started with a week of ground school and just reviewed all of the basic fundamentals of flight and the specifics that apply to our 206, as well as some advanced techniques that we'll be doing throughout this course. So we got right into it with the basics like rate and radius of turn. And so we know that with an aircraft, the radius of our turn is directly related to the speed of the aircraft and the bank angle. And so we demonstrated at different air speeds what would get us the most efficient turnaround if we needed it. So here we are as you get into the mountains. It was amazing how often our engine happened to fail and how much practice we got being aware of our surroundings and what was the best option in really rough terrain in places where you can't really land. So another thing that we do is, and most of the airstrips we fly to don't have weather reporting, and so we have a system that helps us gain the needed information to make a safe decision whether we can land or not before we have to touch down. So we do 3 passes. One is at 1,000 feet, and then the next one at 100 feet above the ground, and then the final one's at 5 feet above the ground. And with each one, we're gaining some extra details about the runway, the surface condition, the wind conditions, whether there are animals on the runway. And the final drag here, you can see I got a little bit too close, but we're trying to be right above the surface and establish the slope and the condition of the runway before we land. So on every pass, we ask ourselves if we've earned the right to go lower. And after 3 passes, if everything looks good, we can come back in and make a safe landing. Something else that we discuss in the classroom is choosing that objective criteria that tells us if our aircraft is performing appropriately. And we do that in a couple different ways. We do it through what's called a power check, or a normal acceleration check, or a speed check, and then also having an abort point where we can abandon the takeoff and safely stop without any damage to the aircraft. And so we talk about all these numbers, and that's a lot of numbers to put in your head and think about while you're trying to take off, and even for landing, what's our landing abort point, and to know our stopping distance before we touch down. So we went over all the numbers in the classroom, and then at every airstrip we went to, we walked it with a measuring wheel and picked good visual points to see it happen, and also to prove to us that these numbers really work.
More brakes, more brakes, more brakes, more brakes. What'd you think about that? Downhill.
So this was one of my favorite days. This is Lake Day. And so here we are en route to a place called Albert Desert. It's about an hour flight south of Nampa. And we got to practice maximum braking on takeoff aborts. So we can practice takeoff aborts with maximum braking and demonstrate a principle that in the 206 works very well, that for every foot forward that we travel, for an abort, maximum braking, it takes a foot to stop. And so we do this at different distances, 400 feet, 600 feet, and 800 feet. And 800 feet, you're actually usually just airborne. And so it's good practice to see what it looks like to lose an engine just after liftoff and be able to land it safely and stop in 800 feet or less.
A mile and 500 feet, you nailed that. You're at 65, so just get a little bit slower. Spot and speed. Spot speed. Don't let your spot drift. Spot speed. More power, slow burst. Flare, I'll flare. On the brakes.
Okay, so our next trip was a Waihi Bend, and here we got to practice short field procedures. This is one of the shortest strips that we can operate on at maximum weight. It's flat and 1,200 feet long, and so we practiced, of course, more aborts, always being in the mindset of being able to give up a landing or give up a takeoff if something doesn't look right.
All right, so my abort point is a tumbleweed on the second tumbleweed on the left. I'll abort if I don't have Airspeed check 35 by that rock just after this tumbleweeds. Or if I see animals or obstructions up out on the runway. After bore point, if airborne engine failure, 6 Gs, best glide, 73, and my altitude to the right. Power check. Speed check. Thank you.
Alright, so one of the final techniques that we practiced is being able to land at sloped airstrips. And so this one here is on the side of a hill that's a 10% slope. And it doesn't change too much of our procedure. We come in with a little bit of a higher airspeed where we have an abort point chosen. And if we're not on glide slope and on speed as we approach this airstrip, then we'll abort and go around. And just for fun, see if you can find the runway here. There is a runway next to the road right in the center of the picture. This is one of the ones that we had to do an airstrip evaluation on. It's 900 feet long with a significant slope. Fortunately, we only had to drag the strip and evaluate it. This would have been a really interesting one to land on. All right, thanks for watching. Next one's the backcountry. This is where we bring all of these techniques together and actually apply them into some even more challenging strips. So the next video I hope you enjoy, and thanks for watching.